Welcome to Techno-Evil Part 2, the COVID edition. Techno-Evil was created to provide a space to talk about all things tech-related that provide a declarative good for society. And I know that is an extremely broad topic. There's a lot to navigate when you look at how technology provides solutions to the public, and lots of it can be debated as detrimental rather than an asset. Here we are focused on the asset side of the equation. And yes, that can be seen as a very subjective line to toe, but that's why we have gathered a wide-ranging group of speakers to give us their varied opinions. In my view, as a technology founder and consumer, technology is clearly ubiquitous in my life and in the lives of those I know. I suppose this might be the same for you. Technology can be a time waster or a time maximizer, a productivity tool or a huge distraction. Technology offers a wide-ranging and ever-changing scope of possibilities. At Techno-Evil, we choose to focus on the good while attempting to strike a thoughtful dialogue on the varying perspectives from different noted tech leaders. We hope you enjoy hearing from the leaders and use this information as a thoughtful intro piece in support of our upcoming live stream Q&A, which you are all welcome to be a part of. Focusing our talk for Technology for Good is hard to do without some parameters, so let's set those. Here you will hear thoughts around the impact of 5G and the continued progress towards internet connectivity across the world. You will also learn about the ideas of technology convergence and how to address problems that really matter. Finally, we will all hear the term digital divide and how that reality will influence the trends and products that have yet to come out.
There are two really important trends, and I think I also have an overarching thought on this theme of the shifts that are happening in technology, and I sometimes refer to them as gravitational shifts because I think they're really fundamental in shaping how we as a collective global population will continue to live and consume and produce. The first one is the combination of technology like 5G, Project Loon, which is the stratospheric balloons that are put out by the Alphabet company that are hanging out over Kenya and Puerto Rico, delivering Wi-Fi connectivity, broadband connectivity, the investment in these satellite constellations by OneWeb and by SpaceX, and I think there's constellations called Ultralink to provide connectivity to a lot more people. There's a number of other techniques being used. There's a giant cable underneath the Atlantic Ocean connecting Norfolk, Virginia to Bilbao, Spain. All of these things in combination lead us to a reality in the next 3 or 4 years that all 8 billion people on the planet, we're at about 7.6 now, but 8 billion people by 2025 will have access to the internet, which means effectively a doubling of the current population that's already on the internet. We've got about 4.1 right now, so we're adding the expectations to add 3.9 billion. And when that happens in a very short period of time, it's going to dramatically change almost everything. Because you can imagine now you've got your potential customer base has doubled. The amount of potential for wealth creation, the demands on infrastructure, the demands on healthcare, the demands on education, right, explode. I think this is very important. I don't think enough people are talking about it, but by 2025, if 8 billion people are on the internet, the world will change indefinitely. And so that's point one that I think is really important. The second one is that I'm less excited about piece of technology, ABC. So what I'm more excited about is the convergence of a couple of different things coming together that allow these new companies and these new solutions to exist. So organizations like Uber and Lyft exist because a handful of things got mashed up together. Machine learning, gig economy, at the time 4G, smartphones, GPS, Google Maps, right? Those things combined together created the opportunity for an Uber to be created and a Lyft to be created. You can do the same thing on convergence that gave the platform for a TikTok to be created, or a YouTube to be created, or or an Airbnb to be created. If you look at some of the fastest growing companies, they are a mashup of a lot of different pieces that have independently grown and gotten to a place of deep consideration for people to figure out how to connect the dots around. And so that's theme 2 that I'm most excited about, is this notion of convergence across technology. And then the third sort of overarching thought I would like to share, and it's really a call out to existing founders and to aspiring founders, is that the world needs leaders to focus on problems that really matter. We've got a lot of problems across the globe, many just in the United States. And I think we need more leaders to fully understand the role that technology needs to play, and to appropriately balance the push and pull. Am I pushing this on you? Am I pulling you to it, to ensure that people's lives have the opportunity to actually be legitimately better?
We are bold with intent. We aren't named after the Great Chicago Fire. We are inspired by what came next. Engineers, architects, inventors, and innovators banded together to execute the vision of a new city, a new Chicago. Today, at 1871, we inspire, we equip, and we support founders building extraordinary businesses. Now, what happens next happens here.
Entrepreneurship. Somehow, we've come to believe it is reserved for a chosen few, for the well-educated, for the prodigies, and the rest of us can only stand by in admiration. We forget that it is not something anyone is born with. It is not more unique to us than a beating heart. We all have it in us, every one of us. Sometimes it's something you plan, but oftentimes it's just something you refuse to give up. It feeds your passion and actions. It silently weeds out the unmotivated from the ambitious. Sometimes it's about changing the world, and other times it's about changing your own world. It's never about seeking comfort. It's always about innovations and discoveries through the grind and the undying desire to win. So, discover what you're made of. Discover Gray.
But really what I feel as an entrepreneur is I'm a translator. And what I mean by that is without customers and without truly solving a problem, we have nothing as entrepreneurs. We have a good idea. And I think that is what is so key, is just constantly being able to figure out, what I'm doing solving a problem for other people, and never ever stop asking that.
I think technology is going to play a critical role in the events that are surrounding both the civil rights movement, Black Lives Matter, as well as the coronavirus. First things first, I think we deserve the reputation, for those of us in technology, that there is a little bit of elitism. There is a privilege to be involved in technology, from the ability for us to work from home, to have computers, so on and so forth. And with that privilege comes great responsibility. We've seen many situations where people are creating products and services and putting them out into the world because they think it's good for the world, as opposed to using what we talk about in user experience design is inclusive design and co-creation, talking with the people you're designing these solutions for, understanding their problems, having empathy for them, and then proposing those products and services so that they can be adopted and create a better life for everyone. When it comes to social media platforms, they've been great places to rally around and get communication around, protests out. But they've also been divisive. You've seen most recently with Facebook deciding to be hands-off with some of the rhetoric that comes out of leadership of our country, as well as Twitter being involved in saying some things are abusive or not abusive. I think our social platforms really need to first take a look at what role they play in a society that demands equity. The other thing that I think is really important to consider is that not everyone has access to technology, as I mentioned earlier. I think the latest statistic would say that 90% of people have access to computers. So access to technology is something that could be limiting to many people in our country. Number two is that if you are in some of the poorer communities, you don't have time to go vote or to stay on top of registration. If you're working 2 jobs and you have kids at home, it's going to be really challenging for you to go and vote. So I think technology, if we can figure out a way to make, without technology, mail-in ballots very available, as well as mobile voting, would be something that allows everyone to participate in democracy and make their voice heard. So I think technology is going to play such a critical role in demanding change from our country.
You got to bridge the digital divide, and that's what we're trying to do, using technology and human resources to make it fair.
I hope that we are at an inflection point in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement and the opportunity for real structural change that comes out. And I believe that technology plays a big part of the solution, but I think right now the most important part of the solution is the human part, and that people, individuals as well as organizations, have to make different choices than we have been making, and individuals and organizations have to acknowledge the inequity that has both been systemic and structural, but also that continues to get perpetuated, and make explicit choices to close the gap. And we know that technology is designed by people, and if you don't fix the mindset or adjust the mindset of the people fixing the technology, the likelihood for that technology to reinforce some of the things of the past is there.
Black Lives Matter is a very positive movement. We saw that in its zenith in Chicago last week and the week before. A lot of the demonstrations were peaceful. Now, what happened was the people who are using the Zoom technology, which is the technology we're using now, they have meetings, private meetings, using Zoom technology to say, let's meet at on Michigan Avenue at 6 o'clock tonight. And this is what we're going to be talking about. And everybody's on the same page, the Black Lives Matter people. And if you look at some of the people taking part in the Black Lives Matter movement, they're white, they're Black, they're Hispanic, they're Asian, and it's everybody's. And you looked at the crowd, you said, "Wow, blacks are in the minority in that crowd," because they believe in a principle, which is to save lives and better the environment.
Every year at TechnoEvil, we focus on one startup that is making the rounds by doing good. This year, we are focusing on Spark. It is a personal employee recognition and engagement system. It is the brainchild of Anna Strauss. You will hear her comment throughout the panel discussions, and you will be able to connect with her when we have our live stream Zoom Q&A later.
With our platform, the great thing is that the employees that are uploaded and their information in that communication channel and conduit that we provide for managers to build stronger relationships is not based on diversity trends. It's based on the individual's experience at work, what they're achieving, what they're producing, if they haven't been recognized in a while. So they're identifying at-risk employees. So this really gives an unbiased look of the manager's experience with each of their employees and just keeps them aware of those interactions and who needs to be connected with.
Hello, my name is Naveen Goyal, co-founder and CEO of Loud Capital. Loud is an early-stage venture capital firm, and we really do believe venture is for people. And so what we believe is venture capital can create a positive impact in society. So we can pursue investing in diverse and underserved communities. And we feel we have the responsibility of educating and inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs to embrace this sport. So we're thrilled to be a part of this TechnoEvil conversation and look forward to see what this movement can accomplish.
COVID has come in and proven rather quickly the fragility of the human condition. It has also highlighted how systems in place to support us can be quickly rendered obsolete. This conference, like many others, has been moved virtually due to it. Social distancing is now a new norm, and workplaces are rapidly moving indoors virtually rather than remaining in their brick-and-mortar buildings. In light of these massive changes, technology has provided some glimpses of how we may overcome these current obstacles. In areas such as remote learning, remote working, unbiased engagement, upskilling, and flexible work arrangements, technology has done much heavy lifting to allow us to continue on. Please hear from our panelists on their view of the current technology landscape and how it is helping us deal with the current COVID reality.
A little lucky here. When I started Prowess, I wanted to help the gender gap in the workforce. And so I stumbled across the statistic that if a woman is out of the workforce for just 3 years, she loses 37% of her total compensation power for the rest of her life. And that happens to 43% of women. So that's what I wanted to solve when I was starting Prowess. So I went out and talked to 100 women who are returning to the workforce and asked them what some of their biggest barriers to reentry were. Number one was confidence, but number two was, hey, I need something flexible. And 97% of women said I would return to work if there were a flexible work option for me. So from the very beginning of Prowess, we have been a completely remote team and train all of our talent pool on how to work remote. So we've been the experts in this for a year and a half, 2 years. And now with COVID, more and more people are coming to us saying, hey, I don't just need expert talent. I need people who have been doing this for a while now, know how to work, how to interact with people from over the internet, from screen to screen.
Since COVID has hit and remote work has become so prevalent, it's interesting, the Spark solution has actually increased in demand. So one of the biggest things is we do use AI and data analytics to really uncover how each individual is motivated, but also alerting managers and bringing more awareness to the needs of their team. So right now, as everyone's remote and they kind of feel like they're on an island, our Spark platform is now pinging managers when employees may hit their goals or gone above and beyond, and really uncovering how to make them feel appreciated during that time. So it's been a great way for them to kind of keep a pulse on how their employees are feeling, how each individual ticks, and how they can be a better manager and coach as we're navigating these uncertain times.
The same thing with like corporate travel, right? Once you could do video conferencing and Zoom, you didn't have to send someone out there. And so instead of spending, 10 grand for a trip, you can, spend $40 for a monthly subscription. I think stuff like that is definitely going to change. And then I think the upskilling is going to become more frequent.
The problem with remote work is you don't see necessarily what people are doing or give them the ability to leave the house if you're always expecting them to be behind that camera for a Zoom call. People are now going to be working from home near their families. And I think a more flexible workspace for people to continue to take vacation days, take days off, and separate themselves from their work so they can come back fully refreshed, each week is something that's really important. We've always talked about work-life balance, especially over the last 15, 20 years. And I think remote work gives you the ability to have some of that. If you want to go for a walk with your dog at lunchtime, you have the ability to do so. But that doesn't mean that you should be sitting at your desk working all day and not detaching from work, or receiving emails at 9 or 10 o'clock at night and responding to them. I think maintaining a normal workday, 8 to 9 hours, is really important, as well as giving employees, through communication. Leadership needs to tell people it is still okay to take a day off. Don't work overtime, and feel free to spend time with your families. There are a lot of things to consider with the implications of COVID and remote work. I think first off is the consideration that a lot of people are now unemployed, and it's eliminated many in-person jobs. And that's something we need to think about when it comes to education and the work that we were doing and continue to do at Flatiron School. Not everyone still has access to a computer, and those are things that we need to continue to work towards and provide resources to those communities so that they can get into some of these jobs that are going to turn into remote work.
Welcome to Flatiron School. This is where you learn how the future works, where the whole point of education is to get you a job in a career you love. At Flatiron, you can graduate in as little as 4 months, not 4 years. Oh, and if we don't help you get a job, you don't owe us anything. The school of the future is finally here. Flatiron School. Change things.
In times of uncertainty, you need dependability. We founded Insperity with the mission of helping businesses succeed so communities prosper. A mission more vital today than ever, focusing on providing human resource support and finding the best path forward for you and your people. Insperity is here with the experience and resources to help you weather the storm and work to build a better tomorrow together.
Everyone loves stories. They give context to thoughts and ideas. In discussing our various questions with our panelists, quite a few stories came up, 3 of which we wanted to share with you. These stories are varied yet connected. One touches on the direct impact that big data can have on the justice system. Another focused on how a Kenyan bank started, in part thanks to an old antiquated game found on old Nokia phones. And lastly, we wanted to show how social media has provided a vehicle for personal engagement and community empowerment. These stories might be similar to ones that you have heard, but in the context of what we are discussing, these examples show how in real time, technology can be part of a wide-reaching solution.
Yesterday, about a pharmacist who got looted, and he had been in the community, in the Roseland community, Roseland, Chicago community, which is a disadvantaged neighborhood, for 47 years. And when the riots, not riots, but when the peaceful demonstrations ended, the hooligans got out and started breaking up windows and breaking in stores. And one of the stores they broke into and looted was his pharmacy in the Roseland area on 111th Street. And they took everything in his store. Now, this is a man who's a doctor. He has a PhD, not PhD, but he has a doctorate degree in pharmacology as a pharmacist from Howard University. He's been in the community for a long time. Well, when the word got out using social media, and we helped it out at NBC, we put it on TV, we put it online, we put it on Instagram, we put it on every format. You know, it's one of the things that we do at NBC. Everybody at NBC has to be involved in social media. You have to. It's a must. So we put it out there, and as a result, this is so cool. A 19-year-old young lady just graduated from the University of Illinois at Champaign, saw the story, and her grandparents live in Roseland. And they normally walk to that pharmacy, but they couldn't walk to that pharmacy because all the drugs were looted. Everything was gone. So she started a GoFundMe page to help out get this pharmacist back on the ground. Well, and that was a week and a half ago. She started up, and immediately it was like $300, $400. Today is $36,000 going in to help a pharmacist. And he's getting things like those roll down shutters, metal shutters to protect his investment as far as, and then he gets a call today from Walgreens. Walgreens is going to help out the local Black-owned pharmacy in the poorest community in Chicago make a comeback. So these things happen for a very positive reason, and it all stems from using social media.
You know, Vodafone came out with a tool to help the underbanked, right? So there's no banks there. What do people do with their money? There's an app that can be used on, like, you know, the old Nokia phones with a snake on them that we used to have, right? So they use that to access their bank account. That's something that is technology, you know, reducing barriers to, you know, I don't want to say financial equality, but one step in kind of in that direction, being able to access those services.
Artificial intelligence is being leveraged to more accurately predict if somebody's if a defendant is a flight risk. And as many of you know, our bail system isn't necessarily the most just across the country or the most data-driven, leveraging data that reduces racial bias. But some of the piloting that's going on in New York is proving to be at least hopeful that this could change the system and change the outcome for a whole bunch of people, where the algorithm uses data from hundreds of thousands of New York City cases to predict if defendants should be granted bail. And that is done without any racial bias, which I think, you know, if you put the two platforms next to each other of, you know, without the algorithm and with the algorithm, you'll have a much more balanced view of who gets granted bail versus not. And I think that those are really important lessons that I hope prove to be definitive in their use cases and then get spread across the country. And that's just one, but, you know, there are many. I think artificial intelligence in particular has the opportunity to have you know, massive positive impact, again, as long as the people creating the algorithm have the right, that there's a distribution of voices and backgrounds and people that are developing that algorithm to ensure that the outcome reflects, a neutrality in terms of bias in any direction.
Hi, I'm Leslie Cohen, co-founder of Hirschman Cohen LLC, a business boutique law firm. We represent our clients in connection with their seed round fundraisings, with their mergers and acquisitions, and their day-to-day contracts. Our firm offers small firm rates and relationships combined with large firm experience and expertise. We are so happy to be participating and sponsoring this conference for another year and hope you enjoy.
Well, I'd like to thank you for being part of this grand experiment. The move to a produced piece allowed us a greater network of speakers, more varied viewpoints, and a larger audience. We are grateful for the support from our partners, American Inno and Discover Gray, as well as the support from 1871. Also, this would not have been possible without our sponsors. I would like to specifically mention Insperity, Flatiron School, Loud Capital, AlgoWorks Solutions, and the Hirschman Law Firm. We look forward to hearing your thoughts and hearing your questions for the live Zoom Q&A later on the 10th of September. If you would like your questions to be shortlisted, please add them. You can find the link on our website, technoevil.io. Thanks again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you virtually.